Okidoki, Kakegurui is a series that I actually disliked when I first watched it. I found it to be a bit lackluster, especially compared to other series I've seen like Liar Game and Kaiji. It did, however, stick with me. I think about this series from time to time, something I wouldn't do if this was an average, forgettable show. Maybe it was due to the aesthetic. I honestly think Kakegurui has the best looking uniform out of any high school anime. Maybe it's because the characters were all incredibly pretty, yet capable of such extreme and often grotesque displays of emotion. I eventually decided to read up on the manga, and I've come to understand one thing. Kakegurui isn't the best gambling anime, but that's okay. Let me explain. I'll first start off with what brings down the gambling element, which I have narrowed down to two areas. Firstly, let's talk about our main character, Yumeko Jabami. Main characters can come in a variety of flavors. The ones I want to look at are what I'll call the tenacious type and the powerhouse type. Tenacious types are pretty easy to explain. If you've seen any sort of shonen series, you know of plenty of these already. These are the types of main characters that are powered by determination. They usually have some big dream or goal to become the pirate or ninja or wizard king. They won't give up, no matter what cards they've been dealt with at birth, whether lacking in some departments like abilities or status, and will rise up against anyone that stands in their way. It's a very popular type of main character, and that makes sense. We love to see someone go beyond and surpass their limits, and you root for them at every turn. Yumeko, however, falls more in line with the powerhouse type. If you've ever read Medaka Box, then you already know that we're moving from Zenkichi to Medaka. If you haven't read Medaka Box, don't worry, I'll go through it with you. Also, read Medaka Box. A powerhouse is basically, as it says in the title, the world they live in has some sort of requirement for them to survive, and these characters excel at this requirement to the point of superhuman abnormality. Even if it's a very narrow scope, these characters are so good at what they do that it scares the rest of the characters. Characters that are usually oh so incredibly good at what they do, but are overshadowed immensely by our protagonist. Look at some similar variations like Senku from Dr. Stone and Akiyama from the before mentioned Liar Game. Some more traditional examples would be Alucard from Hellsing and Jotaro from JoJo Stardust Crusaders. Reminder that these are very generic descriptions, and there are many facets that share similarities like anti-heroes and self-inserts. The reason why I want to point these two out is due to how they work into gambling. How does Yumeko, a gambling powerhouse, interact in an environment where it's win or drown in debt? Well, she wins. Very often. Actually, the only time she has ever lost a match is when a third party stuck their nose in and messed with the results. Kakegurui also plays the fact that no matter how skilled you are, or how many cheats you have in play, luck plays a massive role into gambling. As it should, that's how it is in real life. Yumeko, however, with her immense skill, also happens to have incredible luck. She doesn't rely on it, she's got the talents to back up her confidence, but she's virtually unstoppable to the point where there's rarely any doubt on who will come out on top. The other problem area would be the stakes. Stakes are important to any battle-oriented story. Basically, what happens when you lose. The Demon Lord's invasion is a success, your best friend is killed, you're in so much debt that your life is now nothing but a chew toy for the elites. Hyakao Proud Academy is a school filled with the children of the 1%. We do have normal students that come in because of its reputation as a school for the powerful, but when we do have so many heirs to politicians and corporations, beginning bets all start in the millions. As we go through the story, the money gambled continues to go up and up, to the point where one can even gamble their own life for immense riches or an existence forever in servitude. Not even death is off the table, it's simply just another chip that can be used. When the stakes are so high, there's no way for Yumeko to reasonably lose, because just one loss is so detrimental that they might as well end the story right there. It's hard to consider our main cast losing, as it's just not a viable option. The obvious comparison to Kaiji is an understandable one. Kaiji has also used death as an outcome before, along with the loss of body parts and crippling debt. Kaiji, however, is a much more relatable character than Yumeko, and he has lost before many times. The back and forth of the shifting scales of victory drives in the tension that there is always the possibility that Kaiji will lose again. The stakes are still terrible for Kaiji, but they're not always as game-ending as Kakegurui. So, with the criticisms I have here, you have to wonder, why is this series still so popular? Well, after catching up with the manga, I wanted to provide my answer to that question as well. It does fix some elements I mentioned before, but I've started to see this manga less as a battle manga, but as a character drama. Which is a weird statement to make. Kakegurui literally translates to gamble crazy. How could this not be a battle manga when the whole point of the show is to gamble? Well, remember when I first said that this series often pops into my head every once in a while? I've watched the first season of Kakegurui back when it came out in the middle of 2017, and I picked up the manga at the end of this year, 2021. The fact that in the 4+ years that I had not consumed any Kakegurui content, I still thought about it from time to time meant that there was something here that stuck with me. And I've come to the conclusion that that thing would be the characters. If you look at any of the main players that make up our cast, they all stand out in their own little ways. Midori has no fear for repercussions when it comes to gambling, an extreme masochist that plays Russian roulette to get herself off and stabs her own eye in the pursuit of excitement. Ruka wears a ominous mask for most of the series, as she is constantly in the shadow of her more prominent sister. Ibara looks like a delinquent, but is unable to lie to the point of vomiting, wearing a thorn necklace that stabs him whenever the bile threatens to swell in his throat. These characters instantly make themselves known to you. Their individuality is a staple to Kakegurui, with character designs that have so much flair even though they mostly wear the same red uniform. Which I will say again is my favorite high school uniform I've ever seen from anime. The focus on bright red, which is accentuated with white and black, sparks a subconscious warning sign in our minds, like how some poisonous animals are covered in bright colors, which works perfectly with the theme that around every corner is a gambler ready to devour your life savings and reduce you to a house pet. Stopping there, however, would just make these character traits a gimmick. As often seen in battle manga, we often delve into backstories for the opponents during most matches. That is where we truly get to see these characters shine. One of my favorite examples is Yumemi Yumemite. She's a student pop idol that's in the student council, making a name for herself while in high school so that when she's at the height of her career, she can use her fame to become an actress and achieve her true goal, winning an Academy Award. However, she despises her fans. She hates watching them flail about as they dance to her songs, and aggressively washes her hands whenever she shakes their greasy palms. She takes this all in stride though, working hard to keep them happy and memorizing each and every one of them for her fan interactions. She's a contradiction, hating her audience yet putting in so much training and effort to be the best she can be for herself and her fans. She has 2 arcs in the story currently, one focusing on her relationship with her fan club and the other looking at her fears of going after her actual dream. All the important characters get this level of depth and insight so that we can understand all their separate reasons for gambling, be it the members of the student council or the representatives of the Bami family. Looking at them, our current arc is the election, with everyone collecting votes so they can become the new student council president. Each member of the student body has 1 vote, and the only way to collect them is, of course, gambling. The previous complaint I had about the stakes actually gets mitigated a bit by the introduction of this new currency. Instead of ending your life, figuratively or literally, most losses in the election arc only mean that you're simply out of the race. It doesn't completely solve the issue, but there is an obvious difference as other members like Mary and Ruka come to the spotlight that aren't as clear-cut as Yumeko when it comes to winning and losing. There's even a fun little perk with the introduction of another currency, Scumcoin, which is just a crypto scam concocted by one of the students. Another element that helps with my previous criticisms are the contents of the actual matches themselves. When the destination is usually very easy to estimate, the journey is what's needed to carry each game. And this series is very creative with its games and methods. Each character has their own tactics and cheats to claw their way to the top, be including with other players, marking cards, or reading their opponent's next move. Their individuality often shines through with how they play as well. Yumiko is so in love with gambling that she often takes massive risks because it would be more fun than just winning easily. Sayaka and Manyuda can both be seen as textbook intellectuals, but one uses cold hard logic to dictate how she plays her games, and the other views everyone as a pawn to move around the chessboard and calculates their opponent's intentions by gathering intel. Coupled with the exaggerated facial expressions and the beautiful art, each game is exciting to see how they try to outdo each other. You may know who's going to win, but you're waiting to see what the next face that is pulled, whether it be a look of triumph or despair. Of course, with a character-heavy story, if you end up disliking a certain character, you're probably going to find their match a bit of a slog. Out of all the Obami family representatives, Rin Obami was probably my least favourite match. I liked him as a character, his backstory sold me on him, but his tactics themselves as a swindler that twists lies felt a bit contrived and very easy to see through until the later parts of the match. I actually like his schemes outside of his one match more. The game he played in was also very reminiscent of the one from Liar Game. Not a downside, just an observation. Ignoring the few bad eggs, Kakegurui isn't a series where I come to see if Yumiko will be able to survive the harsh landscape of a school-turned-casino. I come to Kakegurui because I was interested to learn more about the characters I had gotten short glimpses of in the anime. That's why it's okay that Kakegurui is not the best gambling anime, because it's honestly a much better character drama instead. Thanks for watching. I wanted to try something different from my normal reviews. Would love to see some comments on what you guys thought. I'd love to put out some more analytical type videos. I think this one did start to lean back into review territory, but I'll see if there's any other stories I want to try and break down. If you want more, do all the usual YouTube things, like, subscribe, hit the bell, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.